Okay, we're trying to accomplish with these, and there's only two problems in this video, and then I'm going to take over at the front of the room. 2x second plus 3x minus 27. I need to find out what two parentheses would multiply out to 2x squared plus 3x minus 27. Okay. Now, first, before we factor, we have to count how many terms there are. That's 3. Okay, so there are 3 terms to factor. So anytime I have 3 terms, I set up a box for the greatest common factor, space with 1 parentheses. Then I make my table. Remember, I need a big box. I need to cut it in half, and I make this T table right here. So the GCF, remember the 3 things you check for. This very first number 2, is it negative or not? No, it's not, so the GCF's positive. Okay, then I look for X's on every line. There's an X, but there's no X right there. Okay, so don't put X right there. And then you punch in the big numbers 2, 3, and 27 into your GCF calculator. 2, 3, and 27 are already there, so you calculate, and it just says the GCF's 1. Okay, so since my GCF is equal to 1, okay, I really don't have a use to do that because dividing by 1 doesn't change the expression. So now to do my table, I label A as 2, B is positive 3, C is negative 27. And I connect the A to the C by multiplying. It's called the AC method. So I will be taking positive 2 times negative 27. That gives me 54 negative. So I write 54. Now it's very important that 54 is negative. We put 54 and just put a negative sign above it and circle it. Okay, now I need to know what these factors need to equal. They always equal what the B is right here. Okay, B. B is 3, and it's also positive 3. Okay, remember to put the sign. Whatever the B is, put the sign, whether it's positive or negative, in front of it. Now I got to decide if it's going to be a minus or an add. Well, that depends on the sign that's above the 54. It's negative, so that's a minus. Okay, so now I start my process. So I put a 1. And remember, I'm dividing 54 by these numbers I'm listing here on the left side. Okay, so 54. 54 minus 1 is not 3, though, so forget that. Now, if I put a 2 there, I'd divide 54 by 2. That's 27. So 2, 27. Okay, now minus them. 27 minus 2 is 25. Okay, that's not what I have here, so I can't go with that. I'd put a 3. 54 divided by 3 is 18. 18 minus 3 is not 3. Then a 4 here. Okay, that's a decimal, so I don't even write 4 down. Now 54 divided by 5, it's a decimal. Don't put that down. 54 divided by 6 is 9, so I want to write 6 down with the 9 that I got for an answer. Now I think if you take 9 minus 6, that's going to be 3. Okay. Now we need to put signs on the numbers. Now for the larger value 9, that's the sign we put first. It has to have the same sign as what this 3 is here. Since 3 is positive, 9's positive. Your higher number has to be the same sign as what this is. Now, to find the other sign, well, that depends on what we have up here, okay? 54. If it's a negative, the signs are the opposite, okay? So what's the opposite of positive? Negative. All right, so that's done. Now, once you get in the habit of doing this after you've found those two numbers, write what your A is, Now A is 2, x, and then put the x to the second with it, okay? Now since A is 2 and not 1, okay, if it's 1x to the second, I just put 1x, 1x. But if it's any other number other than 1, we need to make 2 sets of parentheses, 4 total. Okay, and what I do is I take that 2 and start it in both parentheses, 2 and 2. And then x to the second, I write that as x, x. And then I just put minus 6 and plus 9 right there. Now underline these 2 at a time. So on your GCF calculator, go 2, 6. Okay, it's 2. So we need to divide these both by 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, and the x stays on the 1, minus, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, now you need to cross that out right there as soon as you get down to here. Now 2 and 9, we punch those in 2 at 1 at a time. So 2 and 9. Okay. I just got a GCF of 1. So if 1's a GCF, you can put 1 underneath, but it's really just going to stay the same. Anytime the GCF's 1, we don't change it. Okay. Okay, and that's it. Put a times dot between them, and that's the 2 factors. 1x minus 3. If you did all the rainbows off to the side, you'd end up back here. Okay, next problem. 3x to the second power minus 16x plus 20. Okay, whenever you factor, you need to count how many terms. It's 3 terms. It's known as a trinomial. So make your GCF box. And then make your T box. Okay, so the GCF. First thing, there's that 3 is positive, so the GCF's positive. Is there x on every line? Nope, not on 20, so don't put x. 3, 16, and 21. Okay, by the way, that x right there is to the first, but it really doesn't matter because that doesn't have anything. Okay, so 3, 16, and 20. And it's the GCF of 1 again. Okay, so if it's 1, it's not worth my time. Okay, then A, B, C. Now connect your A to your C, and that means you're going to multiply. You're going to take 3 times 20. Okay, positive 3 times positive 20. That's positive 60. Now I want to see the positive sign above it. Okay, because that tells me, because I know I have to get it equal to 16. Now 16's negative. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, now, am I adding or minusing here? Well, up here I had a negative, so I minused. But here I have a positive, so I'm going to add. Okay. Okay, so 60 divided by 1 is 60. Okay, if you add 60 to 1, you don't get 16. That's impossible. Okay, now try 2. Okay, so 2 and 30. 30 and 2 is 32 when you add them. Okay, now 3. I shouldn't have wrote it down yet. It's going to work, but 3 and 20. Okay, if I take 20 plus 3, that's 23. It wouldn't be 16. Okay, and 4. 4 and 15. Since I'm getting closer, 15 plus 4 is 19. Okay, 5. Okay, so 12 plus 5 is 17. Okay, 17's close, but that doesn't matter. It's got to be right on the money. Now if I put a 6 there, I'd take 60 divided by 6, and that's 10. So 6 and 10. Okay, I think if I add 10 plus 6, that's going to be 16. So I want to go with these two numbers here. Those are the two factors of 60 that add to 16. Now, sign the numbers. Now, I look at my 16. 16's negative. So that means the 10, the larger number, has to be negative. Now, to find the other one, I need to determine if they're going to be the same signs or opposite. Now, up here we had a negative, so they were opposite. This time we have a positive, so they're the same. So if I already know 10's negative, what's the same as negative? Well, another negative. Okay, so I found the numbers. I know what their signs are. Now, what was the a up there in front of the x to the second? It was 3, so put 3 with the x to the second. Now, if that's not a 1, you need to make 2 lines of parentheses. And you're going to start off with 3. 3, 3, x, x, and then just put your minus 6 and minus 10 right there. Okay? So 3 and 6. The GCF's 3, so I want to underline these both and divide each one by 3. So 3 divided by itself is 1 with x minus, keep the minus and plus, and then I divide 6 by 3, and that's 2. Cross that out. Okay, now 3 and 10. It just gave me a 1. So if it's 1, we don't do anything with it. We just keep it as 3x minus 10. Okay? And down here, that's the factorization.